I saw this picture and it made me die laughing because my daughter has always loved to play in leaves. She's 5 now. And she's been asking us, okay, is it time to play in the leaves yet? And even though it kind of feels like fall, except for this week, it got up to 80s. But anyway, she's like so ready for all the leaves to fall. And it's not there yet, but it's getting close. So this week, we are doing a cozy and easy full week of meals, 6 dinners, and a dessert for under $70. Let's look and see what's on the menu. Now, if you haven't noticed, I have this thing where I love to take classic flavors or classic dishes and just do a little twist. So that way, it may be things that your kids or your family's already kind of used to, but we're just going to do them in a slightly different way. So it's a whole new meal, whole new dish, and it makes dinner a little bit more exciting. And we're going to use a couple different proteins this week, and I'm going to show you some ways that you can kind of pre-make this as well. So let's look at our grocery list. You'll notice in some ways our grocery list is a little bit smaller than usual. It's usually about 40 items, and I think this time it's only about 30 or 31. And really what it is we're going to be using some of these ingredients in multiple dishes. Like the Parmesan cheese is going to be used in 3 different dishes. The baking mix is going to be used in 3 different dishes. So I'm really trying to show you that if you can use a same product multiple times, you're going to lower the cost per meal. Now, our total this week came out to $69.98, so close to our $70 budget. This week, the prices were from the Mableville, Arkansas Super Walmart, which is actually kind of Little Rock, and it came out really well. But just remember, keep an eye on your pantry, your freezer, your fridge, because there's a very good chance that you have some of these items already. Now, I've included everything but the kitchen sink, but I do assume that you have a few items like cooking oil, your favorite seasonings, and one recipe will call for sugar, and you can use white or brown sugar, totally up to you. So let's get into our first meal. My kids are huge fans of chicken fingers and chicken nuggets and all the things, but I'm not actually a big fan of the frozen ones. I prefer to make them myself. So we are going to use some baking mix. Now, it came out cheaper to buy the Jiffy baking mix, but if you already have some Bisquick or any brand of baking mix, it's the kind that usually shows like waffles or pancakes or biscuits, all of those will work, okay? And we're going to mix our baking mix with some Parmesan cheese. I like to just put it in a Ziploc bag, but you could just put it in a bowl or like a dish. And then basically we are going to take our chicken that we have cut into strips like a chicken finger, and we're going to dip them in egg, and then we're going to coat them in the baking mix and the Parmesan cheese. Now, I like to add a little seasoning to the baking mix. This could be some ranch seasoning. This could be some just regular all-purpose seasoning or a garlic blend. You can really make that seasoning any way that you like. Then we're going to lay those out on a greased baking sheet, and we're going to bake them in the oven. I usually do 400 for about 12 to 18 minutes, and I flip them about halfway. But keep in mind, it will depend on the thickness of your chicken. Now, if you're using the frozen chicken, it's already kind of thin, but if you're using fresh chicken, I like to slice it in half first and then cut my chicken fingers because I don't want a ginormous chicken finger. I just want like a nice thin one. So you have to play with that one. Now, for the side dish, we are going to do a pasta salad. But instead of doing like a standard pasta salad where you use like mayonnaise or sour cream to make your dressing or even like Italian dressing, we are going to use hummus. Now, I'm a big fan of garlic hummus, but you can use any flavor. And that means you can really, you can make this dish multiple ways. You could use the roasted red pepper hummus. You could use, I saw one that's an everything bagel seasoning. There's even ones where it's like an olive tapenade. There's so many different flavors. Now, if you already have garbanzo beans or chickpeas at home, you could easily make your own hummus. But for the sake of this being quick and easy, we're going to use the pre-made kind. And we're just going to mix this together with some chopped cucumber and some chopped tomatoes. Now, if you have other veggies in the house, maybe you have some squash or zucchini, you could easily throw those in as well. You could even, like if you have some leftover broccoli, all those kind of things will work. I like to give you bases, and you can kind of mix and match and switch it up if you like. Now, I normally like to add some acid to the pasta salad just so that way it kind of breaks it up a little bit. we're going to be using limes, because if you hadn't noticed, limes right now are about 25 cents a piece, whereas a lemon is about 68 to 75 cents a piece. But if you already have a lemon, that's an easy switch. Just use the lemon. Now, when it comes to serving the chicken fingers, everybody kind of has a different preferred dipping sauce. I like to use ranch dressing. My kids like to use ketchup. So just raid your fridge, figure out what kind of dipping that you would like. And if you don't have one, a lot of these are super easy to make. I have a bunch of them on my website under homemade sauces. So just give that an idea. So let's go to the next one. This next one is going to be a one pot dish that's basically like tacos and rice. Now, I found this recently at Walmart. It's up here in the corner. It is a beef and ground pork blend. It's an 80-20 as far as the fat content, which is really not bad, but it was way cheaper than just your standard ground beef. So if you like ground beef and you're looking for a cheaper option, this one will really work. But honestly, you can use regular ground beef, ground turkey, ground pork, ground chicken, anything that you like. I usually go with what's on sale or what I have stocked up on. And we're going to do a super simple where we just brown it up. We're going to add some onion, let that get all nice and tender. And then we're going to throw in some diced tomatoes. I like it with the chilies, and you can get them in mild. But if you don't like peppers, you could easily just do regular tomatoes. And then we're going to put in some water and our white rice, and we're going to do taco seasoning. And we're just basically going to let that come to a boil, put the lid on like you would rice, and just let it simmer for about 20 minutes. When it comes time to serve this, we're going to top it with shredded cheese and shredded lettuce. So it kind of gives that like a taco bowl, like a rice bowl. And we're going to do this with canned corn. Now, my kids don't want everything all mixed together, so they don't seem to mind the rice and the meat mixed together. So that would be on one side, and then I would do the corn on the side. And then my kids, at least my son, really likes just lettuce and shredded cheese with a little bit of ranch dressing. So it would be kind of like a side salad. And you can also add more to this. So if you like refried beans or black beans or kidney beans, you could easily add that as well. So there's lots of different options here. And then you could even top it with sliced avocado, sour cream, really anything that you enjoy in your tacos, you can make into this taco skillet. It's just a great base recipe, and you can change it if you need to. I've really been hankering for some BLTs. And even though I love the classic BLT, sometimes I like to do a little twist. So for this one, we're going to do turkey lunch meat with our bacon, lettuce, tomato. But instead of the typical mayonnaise that you would put on the bread, I like to toast the bread, and then I put hummus down as my mayonnaise, just because it gives you that slightly different flavor. And it also uses up any additional hummus that was from the pasta. Now we're going to use just one of those sliced French bread loaves, but if you already have bread, you could totally just use regular bread. And then for an easy side dish, we're basically going to do just a sliced cucumber. Now, we don't actually need all of the bacon, so what we would do is go ahead and bake all of it off, and then go ahead and save half or a third of it for another meal. Now, another thing that you could do is while you were baking the bacon, you could easily go ahead and make some home fries. Home fries are one of my favorite ways to do. You're just going to wash and slice your potatoes into any shape you like. I typically go with like a wedge. You're going to drizzle it with some oil and your favorite seasoning. And then the bacon only takes about 20 minutes, but the fries typically take about 30-35 minutes. It really depends on the size of your potatoes. But this is another one where you can just switch up the seasonings, and you could have this every week. It's always, a hit with my kids. And we've gotten where we've done like ranch seasoning, or we'll do taco seasoning, whatever seasoning we have, and it just kind of switches it up a little bit. The next meal we're going to do is going to be a cheesy chicken pasta. I recently made this for dinner, and it turned out so well. What I love about it is it's another one that you can switch out the ingredients based on what you have. And I think what makes this work is you've got to make it in like a large skillet. Okay, so not just like a little saucepan or like a pan that you would boil pasta in. it really needs to be like a big, mine's probably like 12 inches across, and it's a big skillet. So we're going to boil our water for the pasta. We're going to cook it. It's going to take 10-15 minutes. You're going to drain it and set it aside. While that's working, we're going to saute our chicken. And I like to cut it into chunks. And then you can add whatever seasoning you like to the chicken. I kind of keep it plain, where it's like some black pepper and maybe some garlic powder. And we're just going to cook that in either some oil or butter until that is fully cooked. Then we're going to remove the chicken from the pan, and we're going to sprinkle in our flour, and we just kind of stir that around for about a minute or two. And then here's the kicker. We're going to add in our milk, but we're going to do it really slowly, and we're going to use a whisk. And we're just kind of breaking up any of those flour butter chunks. And then because we're doing it in that big pan, it has a large surface area, and we're going to let that milk simmer over medium-high heat for about 2 to 3 minutes. And then once it's starting to thicken up, we can add our chicken back. We can add our already cooked bacon, and we're going to add our pasta back to the pan. And you just give it a little stir. And at this point, you could add your frozen peas in as well. Of course, my kids are not going to want it all mixed together, so we would keep the peas to the side. And then we're going to add in our cheeses. We're going to use just a half of a cup of the Parmesan because we already have it, and about a cup of mozzarella. And you don't really have to measure this. You can just kind of play it by ear. And then you're going to end up with, it's almost a mix between like a really, really cheesy mac and cheese where everything's like all stringy and melty and it's really yummy. But it's also kind of like an Alfredo, if you will. And then I usually add a little bit more seasonings. I've done it the other day with some Italian blend. And then I do let the pasta sit for about 5 minutes because really when it's super, super hot, it is so stringy. It looks like those commercials with the pizza where the cheese just keeps going. So I let it sit for about 5 minutes. And then we're going to serve this with some of the sliced bread that we're going to have left over. And of course, you can do like garlic bread or cheesy bread. Since we weren't really using like the oven, I would just probably go with a simple butter bread just to make it quick and easy. We have done meatloaf in the past, but this time we're going to do it with a little bit of a twist where we're going to make that meatloaf with the instant stuffing mix. I really like the cornbread flavor because I feel like it gives it a lot of flavor, but really you could use anything. So if you had like a chicken flavor or a turkey flavor, there's like sage flavor. There's really, you can make that with whatever you have. And I just use 2 eggs, and you just got to get a little dirty with your hands and mix it all together. And I like to form the little mini loaves because when you do the big loaf, it takes like 40-50 minutes. But if you do the small loaves, usually it's only going to take about 30 to 40 minutes, but it's really going to vary based on the shape and the size of your meatloaf. So keep an eye on that. What's great here is if you like the ketchup on the top or the barbecue sauce or the teriyaki sauce, you can still do that. Now, I realize that this is kind of like a carb fest, but you know what? It's okay because sometimes you just really want the comfort foods. We're going to do just some basic mashed potatoes. Now, I like to chop my potatoes up into like 1-inch chunks so they boil faster, but you're just going to make mashed potatoes however you like it, using either milk or butter because both of those are on our shopping list this week. And then we're also going to serve it with some green beans. Now, I'm typically just going to microwave them, but you could also saute them in a pan. Maybe you had a little bit of extra bacon left over. Maybe you saved your bacon grease. That would be a great option. I know some people like to add some chopped onions in there. Totally fine. Now, we're also going to do some cheddar biscuits. It's not quite like the Cheddar Bay biscuits, but it's really close. And really, we're going to use that baking mix again, and it's super simple. It's 2 cups of baking mix, 2/3 cup of milk, and about half a cup of shredded cheddar cheese. Now, you could use whatever other cheese you have or wanted to use up. Totally fine. We're going to just mix this together until everything's wet and incorporated. And then you just use a spoon and you make basic drop biscuits. Mine, I think it made 12, but you could make a little bit smaller and do like 14 to 16. The kicker here is that after they bake and they're fresh out of the oven, I like to top them with melted butter. And that really gives it that Cheddar Bay feel. And then you can also add whatever seasonings you like. I'm typically going to use like that garlic herb blend, maybe an Italian blend. I have used ranch seasoning because I honestly put that on so much stuff. So really, once again, there's a lot of different options of how you can make this. So don't feel stuck. Use what you already have or just go with what sounds the best. This last one is a really good one, and I was very kind of suspicious because when you do a one pot meal, including shrimp, a lot of times you end up with overcooked shrimp. This one accounts for that, and so it makes it to where it's just perfect and it's not chewy. And so we're going to start with just sauteing some onion in a skillet with some oil and butter. Once the onion, has softened and changed colors a little bit, we're going to add in our chicken broth, our water, and our lime zest. Once again, we're using lime because lime is cheaper. If you already have lemons or you have lemon juice, you could easily do that. Now, I like to, whenever I buy citrus, I like to use all of it. So I'm going to zest it and I'm going to juice it. And I should say that at the beginning, we're going to just use the zest. We're going to add the juice part later. And then once that is in there, we're going to bring it to a boil. And then we're going to stir in our rice and we're going to cover it. And at this point, we're just making rice. But we're going to do it in that large skillet again. So it's going to cook a little bit faster than if it was in a sauce pot. So this really only takes about 10 minutes. And when you look after 10 minutes, the rice has absorbed most of the water, but not all of it. It's not perfectly done at this point, so we have some time. So we're going to go ahead and lay our shrimp evenly across the top. You just don't want to throw all the shrimp in one section. Just kind of lay it out. And then we're going to top the shrimp with a little bit of butter. Now we're going to use about 4 tablespoons, and I just kind of chop it up into little chunks, and I just spread it out. And then this is where I'm going to use my lime juice, and I'm just going to spread this around. And then we're going to put the cover back on and let it cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. This is still kind of on like a low medium at this point because you don't want to cook it too fast because that shrimp's going to cook super quick. And then once you take the lid off after the 5 to 7 minutes, you're going to remove it from the heat and you're going to stir in about half a cup of Parmesan cheese. And then we're going to serve this with broccoli. And once again, you could steam the broccoli in the microwave and then just go ahead and mix it in, and it's truly a one pot. I'm going to personally serve the broccoli on the side. So lots of options here. If you don't have broccoli, you could do green beans, you could do sweet peas. There's so many things here. And honestly, the shrimp, I would just go with whatever's the best deal. So whether that's like the mega huge shrimp or the little tiny shrimp, I just say to do this with raw shrimp because if you try to do it with the already cooked kind, it is going to get really chewy. And then these bags come frozen, and I just defrost them overnight, or I put the shrimp in a colander and run cold water over it until everything's there. These are the ones that had the tails already in. Now, because my kids are still pretty young, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tails, but you could leave them on if that's what you like. Now for dessert this week, we're going to do a super easy peach cobbler. I know peach cobbler is sometimes associated with summer, but I kind of like it more as a fall dish. And honestly, this is another one where it's a great formula and you can mix it up. I would definitely check your pantry to see what other fruits that you have. And you can even do a combo of fruits. The thing is, we really just need about a 29-ounce can of fruits, okay? But first, I do this right in my 8x8 baking dish, so I don't have to mess up another bowl. So I'm just going to combine the baking mix, the milk, the cinnamon, and the melted butter. Now, sometimes I mix just the mix, milk, and cinnamon first, and then I kind of drizzle the butter a little bit and just stir it a little bit, but that's up to you. And then in a small bowl, I'm going to take my drained peaches. Don't throw away the juice. You could easily freeze it or use it for another dish. And then mix it with a little bit of sugar. You can use white or brown sugar. I've used both and they both come out wonderful. And I actually like to let those sit for just a minute because it kind of, almost like when you macerate strawberries, it starts to kind of pull some of the like inner juice of the peaches. And then I just use a spoon and I just top the batter with my peaches. And I like to swish them down a little bit, but not like all the way in. I'm not going to mix it in with the batter. And then we just bake this at 375 degrees for about 45 to 50 minutes. Usually if you use a toothpick, it'll come out clean. But the thing is that For some reason, when you cook this, it becomes like molten lava. So you want to let this sit for at least 20 minutes before serving. Now, I personally like this plain, but if you already have some whipped cream or whipped topping or ice cream in your freezer, you could definitely serve it with this. My dad really likes it with like maple syrup on top. That's an option. But like I said, if you don't have peaches, you could do a mix. You could do some pears, you could do some pineapple. Really, any canned fruit will work with this, and it's just a really basic cobbler recipe. If you made it all the way to the end, I want to say thank you. And I realized that I probably didn't mention earlier that the links down in the description have where you can go directly to our website to see all of the different slides, as well as print your own copy of the recipes and the shopping list. So don't forget to do that. While you're there, sign up for our email newsletter, because then every Friday you will be notified of our newest video, as well as all the rest of the other fun content we did this week. You could head over to Facebook, just search Lodo Family, and you can see all of our content there as well. And you can really join in on the conversation. If you need more help with meal planning, or if you want to get more ideas from other people, go to our meal planning group. It is called Meal Planning for All. I have a link in the description for that. And every day I ask a question that is meant to get you thinking. A lot of it is just different tweaks and different strategies that you can use for your own meal plan. And it's very helpful for you to kind of uncover where your pain points are. So definitely come join us for that. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. I know it's going to be Halloween next week, and there's just so much crazy busyness going on. So I will see you later. Bye.